I live in northern Montana, in a small town where snowstorms can last for days. This happened 2 years ago, and I still can't look out my windows at night without getting anxious. I was 24 at the time. I was staying in my grandfather's old house while he was in the hospital. The place sat near the edge of a forest, and the nearest neighbors were about 300 yards away across an open, snowy field. That night, a brutal snowstorm rolled in. The kind where the streets are completely empty by 8 p.m., and the wind sounds like people crying outside your house. I was in the living room, playing games on my laptop and drinking coffee when, around 11, I heard snow crunching outside the window. At first, I ignored it. Branches scraped against the house all the time during storms. But then I heard it again. Crunch, crunch, like someone slowly walking through the snow right beneath the window. I muted my headphones and listened carefully. Silence. Then, one heavy step, another. A bad feeling hit me instantly. I walked over to the window and slowly pulled the curtain aside. Nothing, just darkness and falling snow. But as I was about to walk away, I noticed something strange. Footprints. Fresh boot prints leading from the forest straight to my house. And they stopped directly beneath my window. There were no tracks leading away, like whoever made them had simply vanished. I stood there trying to process it, when I suddenly heard something upstairs, from the attic. A slow creak of floorboards. My stomach dropped. That's when I remembered the attic door only locked with an old hook latch that had been broken for years. I tried convincing myself it was just the house settling from the cold. Then I heard a loud thud. Bang! Like someone had bumped into a box. I grabbed a kitchen knife. Yeah, I know that sounds stupid, but it was the only weapon in the house. As I approached the attic ladder, I heard another sound, very faint, a cough. Someone was up there. I froze. Then came footsteps, slow, careful, moving toward the attic door. I backed away so fast I nearly dropped the knife. My heart was pounding so hard I could barely hear anything else. The attic hatch slowly creaked open, only a couple inches, then stopped. I stared at the dark gap, expecting to see a face. Instead, I heard whispering. "He's home." It was a man's voice, very quiet, then silence again. I ran out of the house barefoot straight into the snow and jumped into my car. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely get the key into the ignition. When the engine finally started, I looked up toward the attic window. There was a silhouette standing there, watching me. The police arrived about 20 minutes later because of the storm. They searched the house but never found anyone. Only one disturbing thing. Inside the attic was an old sleeping bag, empty food cans, and several photos of my house. The newest one had been taken 2 days earlier, and in it, I was standing beside my car, photographed from the woods. I never spent another night in that house again. This story still freaks me out to talk about. I'm posting it here because I want to know if anyone else has ever experienced something like this. I used to work as a nurse in Minnesota, and during winter I often got home late after night shifts. Usually my dad picked me up, but that night his car wouldn't start because of the cold, so I had to take the last bus home. Outside was a full-blown snowstorm. Visibility was terrible. When the bus dropped me off near the highway, I realized I still had about a 15-minute walk through a quiet residential neighborhood. There wasn't a single person outside, just snow, wind, and the occasional streetlight. I kept my head down and walked quickly until I noticed someone ahead of me. A man standing under a streetlight near a bus stop. Tall, dark coat, just standing there facing my direction. Immediately, I felt uneasy. Nobody stands outside during a storm like that for no reason. As I got closer, he slowly raised his hand and waved at me, very slowly. I pretended not to notice and kept walking, but when I passed the bus stop, I finally saw his face. He was smiling. Not a normal smile, way too wide, like he was forcing his mouth open on purpose. I picked up my pace. A few seconds later, I heard snow crunching behind me. He was following me. I tried not to turn around. I just kept walking faster. The footsteps sped up too. That's when I quickly turned into the driveway of a random house, pretending I lived there. I crouched behind a parked car and peeked around the corner. The man had stopped at the end of the driveway, looking around, searching for me. Then he slowly reached into his pocket and pulled out a flashlight. He started shining it between the cars. My stomach completely dropped. I pulled out my phone, but the battery was nearly dead, and the freezing cold made the screen barely work. Then the man spoke. "I know you're here." I will never forget his voice. Calm, almost friendly.
Like he was talking to a child. I decided to run through the backyard. I climbed over a snowbank and sprinted between houses. Immediately, I heard footsteps behind me. He started running too. I slipped and fell into the snow. As I scrambled back to my feet, I heard him say, much closer now, "Don't run." I screamed and ran toward the nearest house with lights on, pounding on the front door. Thankfully, an older man answered almost immediately. The second I rushed inside and turned around, the street was empty, only snow and wind. Police searched the area afterward, but never found him. And here's the creepiest part. A week later, the local news showed a report about a man wanted for attacking a woman near a bus stop in a neighboring town. When they showed his picture, it was him. Same coat, same unnatural smile.
This happened last winter, while my friend and I were driving home from a trip through the mountains in Colorado. It was close to midnight, and snow was coming down hard. We were driving along a long, empty highway through the woods. Cell service kept cutting out, and the GPS kept freezing. In the car were me, my friend Eric, and his girlfriend Sarah. Everything felt normal at first, until Sarah suddenly asked, "Guys, has that truck been following us for a while?" I looked in the rearview mirror. There were headlights behind us. An old, dark pickup truck, nothing unusual. But after about 10 minutes, I realized something strange. Every time we slowed down, the truck slowed down too. Whenever we sped up, it stayed the exact same distance behind us. Eric decided to pull into a gas station to let it pass. But when we turned in, the truck turned in too. The gas station was completely empty and closed for the night. We parked. The truck stopped a few spaces away from us and kept its engine running. I could see the driver's silhouette sitting motionless behind the wheel. For about 2 minutes, nobody moved. Then the driver's door slowly opened. A man stepped out, very tall, wearing a heavy winter jacket. He didn't walk toward the store, didn't go to the pumps. He started walking directly toward our car. Eric immediately slammed on the gas. We flew back onto the highway. The truck followed. And that's when things got terrifying. It started gaining on us, fast, so close that its headlights completely flooded the inside of our car. Sarah was crying and yelling for us to call the police, but there was no signal. The truck nearly rammed our bumper.
Then it suddenly pulled up beside us. The driver looked directly at us and smiled, like some psychopath from a horror movie, but worse. The worst part was his eyes, completely empty. He was holding something in his hand. At first I thought it was a flashlight. Then I realized it was a hammer. He started smashing it against his own window. Bang, 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 like he was trying to terrify us. Eric floored it, but the roads were too icy. On one sharp turn, we lost control. The car spun sideways and slammed into a snowbank. The engine died. The truck's headlights stopped behind us. For a few seconds, nobody moved. Then we saw the driver's door open. The man stepped out and slowly started walking toward us through the snow, hammer in hand. Eric kept trying to restart the car, but the engine only clicked. The footsteps kept getting closer. I remember Sarah screaming. I remember the man stopping right beside my window. And then, headlights appeared in the distance. A semi-truck. The man suddenly turned his head, then quickly walked back to his pickup, got in, and disappeared into the snowstorm. Just gone. The truck driver helped us get out and called a tow truck. Later, the police told us there had been similar reports on that highway before, people being followed by a dark pickup truck. But nobody ever got the license plate, because the snow always made it impossible to see.